What about YouTube?
Yeah,
YouTube, and then we're going to
Two
post it to
Facebooks,
Rumble.
YouTube, Instagram, and
Okay.
Twitter.
And then we're going to post it to Rumble, right? That's
Two
how we're gonna do that?
Facebooks,
Three
Instagram,
Facebooks.
Twitter, and YouTube.
Yep.
Three
Awesome.
Facebooks.
Yeah.
Three
That's six.
Facebooks.
Three
Yeah.
Facebooks. Wow. Okay, so that's 6 then.
So it hits a lot of people.
Okay, may the force be with you.
3, 2,
HELFRICH.
1.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Zier. We are coming to you live from the America First Warehouse just outside of New York City. We have Teresa Helfrich with us from the America First Warehouse, citizen activist, mom, Moms for Liberty District chapter leader, right?
Yeah, a lot of stuff, a lot of hats.
She's plugged in, and to the right of me, I have Steve Levy, former Suffolk County executive, fighting fiscal conservative, in my opinion. Former New York State Assemblyman, toughest campaigner on the road. And I'm David Zier from Real America's Voice News. And we are pleased to come to you live from the America First Warehouse. Some exciting events coming up. Tonight we have Maria Zack to expose some of the election interference and fraud that's taken place. Marie Zier will be hosting that. In front of a live audience, and in 2 weeks we have Dave Bratt coming, who's the Dean of Business at Liberty University. Dave Bratt is great. I've been talking to him for many years. We're so honored to have him because he's in the news every day now about the economy, and we're going to talk about how to restore middle-class prosperity in the United States and the job market, which is the numbers are lying because Americans are not getting jobs. They're foreigners who are getting the jobs. And other statistics that are important, everybody working 2 and 3 jobs. They always revise the labor numbers down. We'll get into that. And then we have the War Room coming. We're waiting for a schedule. That would be very exciting. War Room on the front lines every day. If you're not watching the War Room, you really don't know what's going on in full, because they have the best guests, and Bannon's on the warpath right now. So, so many exciting things going on in the news. Our country's under assault. I just got back from North Carolina, South Carolina primaries, and it was very exciting, historic moments. Trump wins the enough delegates to take the nomination here, and now it is on Biden versus. Well, I don't think it's going to be Biden in the end, but what do you think?
Oh, I think it's going to be Biden in the end, based upon the speech last week was the telling moment. Had he flubbed just a little bit, they would have coalesced to try to get him out of there at the convention. But after that speech, it was actually a good thing for the Republicans, because I think it cemented him in.
Yeah.
And, you know, there really is no way for them to bypass him and then bypass Kamala at the same time, unless it's Michelle Obama, which is not going to happen.
I think
So
it's in the cards.
Joe-
It's going to happen.
It's
think
Joe.
it's
It's Joe against Donald, and let the fun begin.
I hope that's the case. That's, to me, an easy win. But
No,
Well, Trump's had in every
Not
battleground
with the
state.
media.
He's only within 0.8 of Biden in Pennsylvania, but Pennsylvania has 70,000 new Republican voters since the last election, and in other states as well, like North Carolina is going to be critical this year. Not only can the Republicans keep the majority in the House, because there's a 7-7 split now in the North Carolina House seats. Democrat versus Republican, but 3 Democrats aren't running again. The Republicans have probably wound up with a 10-4 majority, but North Carolina is probably the most important state because 37% of the voters are unaffiliated. What do you think about that, Teresa?
that's an
It
interesting.
could hurt Trump.
I think it could hurt Trump a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's a little unnerving.
well, he's got to go. You know, Trump has to move toward the center. But if you look at the issues, right? Democrats are underwater on every issue. The Republicans win on every issue except for abortion. Except abortion. You'd think this would be the landslide that you're anticipating, Teresa, but I'm telling you, the Democrats control all the institutions. They control the media. They control social media. They control academia. They control
The unions.
entertainment. They
The
control
unions.
the unions. And most importantly, they now control the judiciary, and they control the electoral process. Everything was flipped on its head with COVID, and now you've got these mail-in votes,
And they have the ground
ballot
game.
harvesting, the ground game and ballot harvesting. these Democratic operatives are just waiting to go. They will send hordes of Democratic operatives into these apartment complexes, into these nursing homes, take their ballots with them. Oh, if it's a Biden vote, we keep it. If it's a Trump vote, we throw it in the
Yeah, that's
sewer,
right.
and that's what you have to
What
contend
do you
with.
think?
I think you're on something there for sure. I think that the, well, it's specifically to a state, you mean, or just in general?
Well, we know they're going to try to steal it. We know there's adjudication of ballots. We know there's dumps. We know there's other issues, and a lot of it's really getting exposed. And the main charges against Trump in Georgia, which sparked this whole thing, is conversation with Raffensperger has been thrown out.
Not all of it.
No, just a few charges, but that was really at the crux of this whole thing.
You know, basically, you got to understand how absurd this is. The judge said that Fannie Willis came in with an indictment that didn't show a crime. It said, we think that 18 people conspired to commit a crime without saying what the crime was. So the judge says, you can't do this to a defendant. You can't just say the Constitution was violated because there's, you know, hundreds of different provisions in the Constitution. So he threw out these 6 claims. He should have thrown the whole thing out, but he left that
door open,
the RICO aspect of it, which is totally bogus, but it does underscore how flimsy those original charges were. And some people, I had a friend the other day, really astute guy, said, yeah, but why did those lawyers plead guilty, right? Well, this is what Willis did. She threw everything against the wall, indicted 18 people. Why? To put pressure on some of them to just plead something. Now, why did they plead, David?
Because they bankrupt them into
That's
submission.
right,
Exactly
they
what I was gonna say.
bankrupt them. So
It's all by
none of them were charged with, none of them lost their law licenses. There were 3 lawyers who just pleaded, get me out of
Jenna
here.
Ellis.
Right, they weren't in prison, they didn't lose their law license. So all they had to do was say, I'm sorry, I did something wrong. Now this lawyer saying, I'm gonna have to spend $500,000 to defend myself. And then when I get before this jury in Fulton County, it doesn't matter if I'm innocent. I'm a Republican in Fulton County. What do you think they're going to do to me? Where do I sign? So Fannie Willis now gets to turn around and say, see, we told you there was something
That was
corrupt
the
here.
strategy.
They agreed to sign off and apologize, and that's what it was all
Yeah.
about.
So Alvin Bragg has pushed off the case for another 30 days. You know, it took them a year to get 30,000 pages of material. There might be exculpatory evidence in there for Trump in Trump's favor. What do you see happening?
Well, I think that's why it was probably pushed back a little bit. I think
Yeah.
that, I think he's a little nervous finally. You know, he's been very pompous about the whole thing. I think Trump could win this.
Well, Cyrus Vance
I do
passed
think-
on the case. Cyrus Vance Jr., the son of the Secretary of State under Jimmy
As
Carter,
did
was
the
the
feds.
DA, and the feds, but they punted on it. You know, they dragged their feet. It took a year to get these 30,000 documents out there. You know,
David,
there
can I
are
just-
some things going in Trump's favor right now.
There
This
are.
may be the only case in the history of America where the person who was blackmailed, and that's Trump, by the woman he allegedly had sex with, the person who was blackmailed is
Consensual.
being indicted,
Right.
okay? Not the person who did the blackmailing, but the person
Well,
who was blackmailed who said, oh, you paid her off for assignments, which is not illegal.
It's not illegal.
It's
It
not
doesn't
illegal.
violate federal election law
Right,
either.
But
But-
we're gonna indict you saying that you hid a campaign
And
contribution.
at the most, they would be processed misdemeanor crimes at the most. Not
But the
felonies.
John Edwards case,
Yeah.
where they tried to do the same thing, he was acquitted. So give us a break.
I know. Well, we're looking at lawlessness and lawfare right now, and this is what we're up against, a very flawed judicial system. Scary.
How do you you watch this harrowing video on the subway? I can't sleep at night. My kids live in Manhattan. This guy gets attacked, picks up the gun, shoots the guy. Are they going to arrest the guy who was defending himself?
Probably.
Where was Don Penny? In jail, right?
Right.
He could have been there to stop this. right?
Everything is flipped on its head.
It is.
And you know, we can segue with that, David, into Governor Kathy Hochul, tough on crime Hochul.
Right. Now,
Now
needing
is
the National
bringing
Guard.
in the National Guard. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't mind that presence. I mean, a lot of people say I don't want the
I mind them
military
searching through my bag illegally.
It's not even that. We caused this issue to happen. Now our tax
That's
dollars,
it.
Yeah.
now we're
That's
spending
it.
resources and energy again to mitigate
This is
a
a
problem
law
That's not the
we caused.
You're right. You're right. It's all about the bail reform and the failure and the reluctance of the prosecutors to put these violent people away. You don't need
We should
these
have
guys in military gear to be there. Again, not that I have a problem with it.
I
because
have a big
it,
problem.
it gives a sense of deterrence, but the real deterrence is putting away the crazies
Right.
like Giuliani and Bloomberg did.
Subway crime in the Bronx is up 85% year over year. 3,000 cops left the force last year alone. They only replaced them with 2,000 so far. And we're losing 200 police officers a month in here. Felonies on the New York City subways have skyrocketed 54%
But it's
in the
all in
last
your imagination.
2 years. There's been 119 felony assaults on the subway, the highest since 1998 so far this year. The murders are at higher than even 2019. So murders, rapes, and assaults had a 53.7% increase over the last 2 years on the New York City transit system. This is a complete failure of the mayor and of New York City.
But you will know that if you're a reader of the New York Times or the Washington Post or view CNN and MSNBC, because they pretend that this is just a conspiracy theory that the crime is going up, and they cherry pick the stats to say like murder or shooting. Oh, they're down.
So
What if
murders
people
and
come back?
shooting are down.
Maybe from the historic high, not historic, but the historic rate of increase
Yeah.
since 2019.
So murders and rapes are down, but felony assaults
from a year, but not from 2019. when it
there's
all
still
started.
our murder rate is still 10 times less than DC, and it's
Right.
4 times less than Chicago.
But that's not solace.
But you know, the real crimes are the felony assaults. 28,000 in the streets of New York last year.
And the
23-year
percentage.
high.
Just being on a subway dealing with crazy people.
Crazy people.
These are people who used to be institutionalized, or the cops would take them away. It's not the fear. So many, you know, I saw the interview on the subway of the average person. So what do you think of them searching the bag? Hey, my computer is in my bag. It's not causing a crime. It's not that these guys are coming in with guns. It's that they're crazy
Right.
and they're going to push you onto the subway tracks, or they're going to menace you in your face or punch you or whatever. That's what the big fear
You got to
is.
stop doing that. Jim.
I know. I'm trying to like cut back, but that's you know, I'll be honest with you. Two Christmases ago, my son wanted to go into the city, and I said, I will pay for an Uber. Do not take the train. I mean the subway. Like I promise you, whatever it costs, I will take. You know, I don't want to take that chance. And I have another son going to the city this Saturday after prom, and I'm terrified. You know, now you have. I'm trying to explain to these other mothers. I don't live in fear, but I got to be smart. You know.
Well, we should, and we have to be vigilant.
Yeah.
Anybody can be a victim, and that's the difference today versus the 70s, is you knew where to go or not to go.
Yeah. Now it's fair.
Now it's random.
It is random.
That segues into illegal aliens. Joy Reid goes on TV with Raphael Warnock from Georgia and says illegals aren't committing crimes. It's negligible.
I prefer invaders.
But I have data that challenges that directly. I've interviewed angel moms and dads on the border about the illegals that killed their kids. Steve Ronneback, whose son was murdered in a gas station robbery in Denver, didn't have to be. Marianne Mendoza, a German legal immigrant. Sabine Durden's sons were killed by an illegal on drugs and alcohol. A 12-year-old boy killed by an illegal alien in Missouri. These are new charges in the last few weeks. Illegal alien drunk driver in Virginia hurt people. A guy who was in the country 5 months illegally raped a 14-year-old girl in Louisiana. Another illegal alien, was charged with raping a pregnant woman in Florida. An illegal alien killed a man on a motorcycle, I believe, in Florida recently, in Northern Virginia. And you got Jen Psaki, Joy Reid, and Rachel Madcow, right? You know, up there joking that the biggest issue, and I'll segue to you about this, illegal immigration is the biggest issue in the primaries, right? And they're making fun of Virginian Republicans after 5 MS-13 members were just convicted, one of murder, and Venezuelan Renzo Mendoza Montes came into our country illegally, was just busted for assaulting a 14-year-old girl in Virginia. So
Well,
is it negligible?
Well, didn't you listen to the president? Illegal aliens built this nation.
Like they did.
Didn't you hear that? Did
They're
you
the
miss
founding-
that? They
right.
built this nation. Illegal aliens did that.
No.
Look,
Legal
The
immigrants
game-
with sponsors
Sponsors,
from Europe.
right, that's
the
right.
game that the left plays, the Democrats and their Democratic allies in the media, is to say, oh, well, illegal aliens are committing crimes at less than the general population, blah, blah, blah. Number one, that's a false stat because they don't collect the crimes as to when you're legal or illegal. That's number one.
Right.
But more
That's a good point.
importantly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the people coming over and committing crimes, the people here illegally, are doing it at a higher rate, the same rate,
One
or
is too
lower.
many.
One is too many, but here's the point. It's preventable. You cannot necessarily prevent every crime that is occurring from people who are here legally. But you deny that illegal alien to come over the border in the first place, you prevented that
Absolutely.
crime. So
Yep.
Laken Riley should not be in a coffin right now, but for Joe Biden's disgusting open border policy. So you can give me all the stats you want till you're blue in the face that these people are safer than the native population. By the way, I think most people do come over here because they just want to work and improve their lives. It's a small proportion that are violent, but it doesn't matter. If it's 10%, 50%, 1%, any one of them that gets in here illegally and is committing a crime, it's a crime
And
that
Steve,
should not have
You've
happened.
been outspoken on illegal
Right.
immigration for 20 years in public office, you know,
And
you
I was
were
called
ahead
a
of the
bigot.
curve.
And I was called anti-Hispanic,
All of us
and
have
I
been.
was called nativist and xenophobic just for saying, hey, look, I'm in favor of legal immigration. We just have to have an order here.
Of course.
But that's the game that the left plays with the media and the word games that they play, and they do intimidate decent, middle ground, independent people, and even my Republican. I was a Democrat for a long time, and then I switched to Republican in 2010. I can tell you, the Republican legislators that I served with were just as intimidated
Yeah.
by those word games than the Democratic colleagues that I served with. They just I don't want the New York Times calling me a racist, and they chill your speech. Because if you do speak up, they will label you and they will cancel you. We
Let's
have
say-
to speak
And that's
up.
by design
Stay
too. It's all by
strong.
design. It's all crafted that way to be against us.
Yep.
And I think if they're having to deploy National Guards and we're having any kind of upticks in crime, that should be an indicator right away to shut the border. There's a million reasons why,
Well,
but
you know, it's the whole thing is just rotten to the core, and the billions that are spent.
that's the thing.
So it's $900 per family per year to fund Ukraine. It's $1,000 per family to fund illegals, who some are making $90,000 a year
Yeah.
on public assistance with their families illegally.
Good gig if you
So
can get it.
$2,000
White
of your
online.
tax money every year is going to these causes that you may or may not believe in. So
And if I could just say, David, shame on Senator James Langford and any Republican who signed on to that atrocious so-called compromise bill. That was not only bad policy, it was political malpractice. You gave these open border Democrats a lifeline, a pass
$1.5
to say,
million a year.
if only these MAGA Republicans would sign on to this, we can solve the immigration
But it
problem.
changed the rules too,
It
where
was an
like the
awful
courts could twist it and keep anybody they want here who's here
It-
illegally.
More than that, it says the first 4,000 illegal immigrants a
Yeah.
day are freebies, and then the president does not have to do anything until the first 5,000 arrive. By the way, that's 1.8 million illegal aliens that you're now legalizing every year. 18 million illegal aliens over
The
10
Demo-
years
listen, the
that this
Democrats-
bill would say, okay, you can come in before
Yeah.
the president has to do anything. And they say that's a compromise. That's the toughest immigration bill ever. What a farce. And shame on you, Langford, for signing on to that bill and giving credence to the crap that those open border Democrats have been spewing for the last several years.
Yeah, very outrageous, right, Teresa?
It terrifies me.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
It definitely is. And Joy Reid, who's a Harvard-educated moron, You know,
And
recent-
racist.
She's an idiot. She said, you know, in response to Ahmadinejad's, you know, opinion in 2006 that Israel should be moved to Europe. And she said, I hate to admit it, Mr. Ahmadinejad has a point. And then on the in vitro issue in Alabama, you know, whether an embryo is a life or not, she said, Joy Reid says this, and she's on full time on TV, that Alabamans want to create more children to bring back slavery and to replace the jobs of illegals. And President Joe Biden, though, was a victim of her stupidity also, so her dumbness cuts both ways. But I'm not going to judge her. She said, President Joe Biden is a white working class guy who's delivering a wonderful economy while bending over backwards, disproportionately lift up ungrateful white people, otherwise consumed with getting rid of white people, getting rid of people of color. That's Joy Reid.
Well, you know, the leftist media is obsessed over racism,
Yep.
except when it emanates from the left. And, you know, there is this rising tide of not just anti-Semitism among the left, but just outright racism
Across the board.
that you know, stems from critical race theory and DEI. And the worst part of it, David, is they're polluting our next generation.
Mark Milley
this way.
is getting knighted by King Charles, another loser in England. And I have respect for the royal family, but not for this guy. They're going to knight Mark Milley, who said that critical race theory is just as important as reading about Mao, Zedong, and Marxism.
Yeah.
You know, but even though CRT is all made up and fiction, and you deal with that with Moms for Liberty, right?
We do, and I took it on in my town in 2022, and even in my conservative town, I did a little digging and foiling, and that's just another thing that's designed, again, by design, to come after our children, and it's extremely divisive and racist. And the good thing is, you know, the African communities and the Latino communities, they're speaking out now. They know they're the ones coming to the front now and saying, this is racist. You're creating division amongst.
Yeah, and we had the pastors here at the warehouse 2 weeks ago. We had this
Phenomenal.
incredible special with these three pastors from the inner city that we flew in. Pastor David Lowry from Chicago, that Ben Berquam on Saturday night, Law and Border, has a special on the black vote, turning away from the Democrats in Chicago. You cannot miss it. I think it's on at 4 p.m. on Saturday. Go to americasvoice.news. Do not miss Ben Berquam's incredible coverage. The best border correspondent in the world. I've been working with him for 5 years at RAV, exposing what's going on. But the black families are tired of the schools making all their kids gay, and you know, all the they're not learning, and they're just handicapping.
Yeah.
And that the Democratic Party has been exploiting the black vote for 70 years. But the Republicans don't go in and help either.
That's true. I just want to say kudos to Moms for Liberty. Thank God they're out there, what you guys do. Yeah, we have to push back against this Marxist movement within America. And the average resident, what are you talking about, Marxism? You have no idea. It really COVID that started to show people, because you were able to look through your Zoom as to what's actually being taught in these schools. I mean, critical race theory is now in 4,000 schools around America.
And
This is not an offshoot.
And the American Library Association was
run by a Marxist.
Was run by a Marxist.
Now, Moms for Liberty has been pushing back, saying, hey, we don't want books that glorify pedophilia, incest, and are outright pornographic being available for 13-year-olds. And this is why I say we have a tough battle,
And even younger.
What does the Democratic media do? They push back, not saying, yeah, this is awful to have these pornographic books in our schools. No, they try to make the Moms for Liberty look like the outliers. And that's exactly what happened. You got to go back and check out this 60 Minutes episode 2 weeks ago with Scott Pelley. Absolutely disgusting the way he and his crew defamed the Moms for Liberty, who were just going up there and saying, hey, look, books like Genderqueer that depict, drawings of children having oral sex with each other or pedophilia, okay? They just wanted to say, get these books out of the school. What did Pelley do? He edited that whole episode to make it appear that the Moms for Liberty wanted to get rid of To Kill a Mockingbird. from their local school board. He would not put on the words within these books that the moms had given him, because if he did, he would have been fined by the FCC.
Yeah.
That's the world we're living in now, where the crazies are in control and polluting the minds of our kids. And when normal people, like the Moms for Liberty, speak out, they get canceled, their kids get harassed, they get doxxed.
Yeah, we've been doxxed.
Right, so thank God for what
And
you do,
here's the
keep up
thing.
the fight.
No one's saying like ban books. If we said ban books, we mean like ban them from the beginning. Publish them, put them out there, whatever. People can go on Amazon and so choose.
Adults.
Adults, if they want to even show a book like that to their children.
You didn't teach your kids the gay BCs?
I did not. Maybe I'm behind the 8 ball. I don't know. I taught my kids that we're all God's children and be respectful and respect other people, and that's all they need to know beyond that. But I find it, quite interesting that, I've been to board meetings where we've read excerpts out of these books, and they shut down the board meeting.
Right,
They
right.
say this is inappropriate. You can't speak about this topic here.
Or if you gave it to a child in the parking lot of school, you'd be arrested.
Correct.
It's like,
But it's okay
Correct.
if it's sanctioned by the school and put in the library or in the curriculum.
And I'm in Nassau, so
What a
we have
world.
I'm in a meeting, I was supporting another school district, but supporting the Friends in the Fight. So I did a lot of different school board meetings, and it opened up a wider picture of what's really going on, more broadly. And one of the principals, the superintendents in a neighboring town near me basically said, and it really doesn't matter what you guys think. We're with your children more than you are, and this is what we're going to do.
We're the
anyway.
experts.
I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he
We're
said.
the experts. Trust us, like in the Cultural Revolution, the peons were supposed to trust Mao Zedong.
yeah, 70
So-
million died. I know my gay B, C, D, E, F, G, or is it gay B, C, D,
Yeah,
LGBTG?
It's something like that. It's something like that, I think.
I have to learn that.
It's
I just want to say, this is not a gay issue.
It's not.
I know.
They're making it, though.
I don't care if the inappropriate sexual content is between a boy and a girl, a boy and a boy, a girl and a girl. It shouldn't be boys or girls, period. It's glorifying pedophilia.
Anyone under 18 shouldn't be exposed to it in
Absolutely.
school with my taxpayer dollar.
I'll give, I did something very simply that a lot of people don't seem to know, so maybe our viewers, this can help them. I simply just opted my kids out of all of that, and I made it a very broad thing. I told my school, with all my children, if you're going to teach a lesson on CRT, SEL, DEI, anything that remotely touches upon that, my children are not to be in there. They need to be removed, and they agreed to give them an alternate learning environment during those lessons. And it's as simple as that. You have to start somewhere. And a lot of my friends, other parents, they didn't realize it was that simple. I said, I'm the mom. If I'm telling the school my kids can't learn this content, they don't learn the content. And that's a start.
Well, there may be some hope, because this week in Texas revolted. The people of Texas revolted. Mayor Greg Abbott wanted to have free
best.
choice within schools. And it was the deep state Republicans in the Senate who teamed up with the liberal Democrats to do the bidding of the teachers union to block it. So what did Governor Abbott do? He primaried them, and he knocked out a whole bunch of them, which is unprecedented. The people spoke up.
Yeah,
They
the
stood up.
parents
They
groups.
kicked their asses out, and they will have school choice, the freedom of taking the money and moving it with you to place your kid in a better performing school.
Yeah, I've worked with Moms for America as well, and making a lot of headway in Texas and other parents' rights groups.
They're amazing.
Sick
We
of
met them at
what's going on.
CPAC. We're actually going to link
Yeah.
up with them. They're a great group.
They are a great group. So, all right, we have one or two more quick topics here. I interviewed Holly Lippman. It'll be on Breaking Point tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern Time at Real America's Voice News. Download the app or watch it at americasvoice.news, Dish Network, Channel 219. Samsung TV, it's got the best picture, Channel 1029. We're all over the place on Apple and Roku. Real America's Voice News. I interviewed Holly Lippman, who helped write the Abraham Peace Accords. I have him on a lot. He's a little bit like of a centrist type guy, but he's very smart and sharp when it comes to Israel. And, he's basically saying that Schumer's comments were so outrageous, calling for the removal of Netanyahu is like them asking for our president to be removed. But also that, this is really just a campaign move by the Democrats to win Minnesota and Michigan. And just to end my statement, that Hamas is down and trapped in Gaza, and the Israelis have to go in and take out those remaining battalions of Hamas and should not back down. What do you think?
Imagine it's 1945 and the Allies are closing in on Berlin, and you have a contingent of Democrats or Republicans within the nation saying, stop,
Don't bomb Dresden.
don't go any further. Or President Trump gives the order to crush ISIS, and we're on the cusp of wiping them out
And
totally.
the Battle of the Bulge never takes place.
That's right.
Right.
And you have these idiots, these political jackasses who say, hold off for humanitarian reasons. Joe Biden wants to give billions of dollars to build a port for humanitarian aid against an entity that is holding 6 American people to this day as hostages. Think about that.
It's enraging.
We have 6 Americans being held right now by Hamas as hostages. And our president says they don't count. We don't know their names. We don't care. We're going to help the bastards who are holding our people hostage with humanitarian aid. What kind of upside world
But is
are
that-
we living in?
Is that port,
Right.
Teresa, just to sneak in another 750,000 Palestinians into the United States?
I mean,
You know,
of course.
and it's definitely exposes us
Absolutely,
to
and it further
threats and
corroborates
danger.
that there's a bigger agenda here and that he really doesn't care about our country. I mean, that's obvious.
It's Cloward
You know,
Piven.
and I heard, you know, I was at a meeting last night and it came up and like the Jewish communities right now are going crazy. You know, with Schumer, they
They're
feel like he's
betrayed.
a traitor.
They were
feel like they're
betrayed.
being betrayed.
Because he's soulless.
He's soulless, but even being Jewish
Because
himself.
he knows he can reverse anything he says at any time, and nobody
and
will
it
care.
just
And the Jewish vote, the Reform Jews in the United States have this like guilt for whatever reason, and just let these people get away with anything they want.
they've
You
just
know,
been so
Where's
conditioned.
the blowback?
I served with Schumer when I was county executive. He was the senator in the state of New York. We actually had a very good relationship. He was always to the left of me, but he always tried to moderate. You know, remember, you could see his clips now. Oh, well, why are they, you know, of course they were illegal aliens. He said the words, you know, because he was trying to moderate and sound like a moderate because he was always a political animal where everything was about maintaining power and not going too far so that you don't, you know, lose your next
on the
election.
surface. on
But
the
now,
surface.
what is he doing? Again, he's basing his policy, like you said, David, purely on power politics. And the reason this is so disgraceful is because it is a monumental landmark shift in American policy since 1948, where we've always been supportive of Israel and their leaders. And by the way, to think that he is speaking to the people of Israel, the people of Israel
No.
to the right of Netanyahu
Yeah.
right now,
Right.
the 85%,
Yeah.
they want Hamas crushed. They are behind Netanyahu and going forward. It's not like, oh, you have this crazy leader who is out there on his own,
No.
despite the feelings of the Israeli
Right, and they're
people.
our biggest
Nonsense.
allies.
They
We-
want
we look
Hamas
like,
crushed.
We look like traitors to them
And
now.
sure,
That's our biggest
sure.
ally.
And Hamas only cares about one state solution, not a 2-state solution. And Schumer says that they want a 2-state solution. What a jerk.
5 times they
And-
rejected it.
but
5 times they
we don't
rejected
negotiate.
it.
Hamas wants one state, and that's the Islamic State and the Caliphate.
Pure politics, pure partisan deep state politics.
But that goes into two more really quick topics here. So I think there's an amalgamation growing of the black vote. Trump gets another 3 to 5% of the black vote, another 3 or 4% of the Latino vote, and gets the Jexit, the Jewish community, walking away, which already existed, but walking away from the liberal type establishment, especially over Israel. Do you think there's going to be an impact? And I know Jews are only 4% of the population, but between those 3 factors, can they shift this election?
They could if it materializes. Now, there's a big difference, David, between not voting for Biden and actually pressing the lever.
For Trump,
or,
yeah.
you don't press levers.
Or they go no labels.
I
they're
wish-
screwed.
I wish that was the case right
Right.
these days.
Now, that also can tilt the election because even though you're not, if you vote for Trump, it's a 2-1. But if you a 2-for-1, but if you just don't vote for Biden, it has an impact on the election as well. But you know what? I'm gonna believe it when I see it. I've seen this many, many times before. Will they go back home? Perhaps, but like you said, it only has to be a shift of 5%. It doesn't, you don't have to win the black vote. You don't have to win the Jewish vote or the Hispanic vote. But if you're getting 15%,
Yeah.
instead of 9%, which you did last time,
Yeah.
bingo,
Yeah.
that's what it is. But I'll believe it when I see it because the media is gonna come full force.
Oh, yeah.
These Republicans
Well, they're
are
gonna double
racist.
down this year,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
whole way of this election season. But I actually think those demographics actually could tip it.
We'll
We
see.
gotta go
I
after the
mean-
vote. We gotta go after the votes, though. You can't just assume they're coming. You gotta go.
I
for them.
do all my own, like, almost man on the street. So if I'm grocery shopping, I see a young kid at the grocery store, I always try to strike up a conversation.
Yeah.
I make a comment like about the grocery bill, or just to see where they're at. And I have to tell you, young kids, which makes me very happy, African Americans.
Oh, they can't even go
Latino,
out anymore.
They-
You can't go to the movies for under
And-
$50 a person.
You can't,
these
and I'm
kids.
telling you, they are all
know?
across the board Trump. They've all had it. Everybody, even young kids are saying,
Well, they watch their parents struggling too.
Yeah.
And young men are going overwhelming to the Republican Party, and you ask why? Well, if you are constantly being told in school and the media that you are the problem, that you are a racist, that you're going to be, in a kangaroo court when you go to college because someone accused you of something and you
You
don't
did
have the
too.
ability to
Yeah,
defend
you
yourself.
can't.
What am I going
They're
to? These
sick
people
of that
hate me.
too.
They hate me. Why should I join a party that hates me? Right?
So the unaffiliated voters in North Carolina, 30% are Republican, 31% are Democrat, but 2.7 million are unaffiliated. 37% of the population, and 47% of them are between the ages of 18 and 35, and they do lean Republican. That doesn't mean they're going to go MAGA though.
That's right.
Right? So we'll see where that goes here. One last topic, because it merges with our conversation about flooding the United States with illegals and letting more Palestinians into the United States to hate America even more. And Haiti.
Haiti, yeah.
So I heard the cannibal gangs are in Haiti. And there's a run on barbecue
I was
sauce
gonna
in
say,
Florida right
you
now.
gotta call her. I was gonna say, it's the barbecue kid.
Yeah.
What a wild world we're living in right now.
So how much of this, it's always been a mess in Haiti, from Baby Doc going all the way back. But the Clinton Foundation and Clinton almost destroyed the rice industry in Haiti. The millions of dollars that were stolen out of the
Right.
Clinton Foundation funds. What's this stemming from?
Well, it's always been chaotic there. There's never been any, true constitution. But I can remember George Bush, and Clinton doing commercials together.
Yeah.
Please donate to our fund, and they gave billions of dollars
After
to
the
Haiti.
earthquake in 2010.
Right, and nothing changed. Here's the problem: they never tie the aid to any reform.
Yeah.
They just give it. It gets
It's
stolen by the
unconditional.
corrupt leaders. It's gone. So had they taken that money and conditioned it, we want to see X, Y, and Z happen. And as this step progresses, we give you a little bit. As you get to the next step, we give you a little more. Now, isn't that common sense? Do they do that? No, because they want the quick press release. Look at how humanitarian we are.
But they always try to make it look benign on the front. I always say that. On the surface, a lot of things sound benign. Even critical, even the stuff that they're trying to say, we're trying to, educate people on different genders and
It's
different.
for tolerance. It's for
It
inclusion.
looks so benign on the surface.
Right,
It really
right.
does, and I see how people fall for that. I think I did. I was a little indoctrinated at 18. I've come from a conservative family, a registered Democrat for a year, never voted that way, but because I thought,
I
humanitarian.
knew it was you, Fredo.
Right, I know. My ex-husband said to me early on, I don't think you're really Democrat.
My family were all Democrats until my mother opened a business.
I was.
And then you
and,
realize, yeah.
and went to Russia and went to communist China and realized, but my grandparents are all like Italian Cuomo Democrats, right,
Yeah.
from New York.
Yeah, but the old Democrats too. I think the Democrats of back then would be Republican now.
Yeah.
They lean
Something like
more
that.
leaning.
Yeah.
You know, David, you said
that was fiscal.
Democrats, he opened the business. There was a great article, and he didn't realize what he was doing. Steve Israel, the former congressman from the area, he owns a bookstore now. He left Congress, and he wrote this op-ed about, wow, I own this bookstore now, and I look at things so differently, where now,
Yeah,
if it's a rainy day, I can get wiped out that particular weekend, and I have to meet payroll every
Oh,
week.
yeah.
Well, if only Democrats had that attitude when they're voting
Yeah.
on things that crush businesses. It should be mandatory that everyone in Congress has to be in the private sector and own a company for 1 year to understand what
Yeah,
it's
so
like.
I work
That's a
for
good
a
idea.
former Republican leader in Suffolk County who delivered Suffolk County by 81,000 votes for Nixon back in the early 70s. But then went down when after Watergate, everyone down to the dog catcher, and the Republican Party lost their job in New York. But he gave me an article in 1993 when I worked for him at the Long Island Builders Institute, and it was by George McGovern, who's the socialist running against Nixon in that
Right.
72 race. And it said, run your business before you run for office. Because even McGovern, super lib socialist, tried to build a hotel in Connecticut and got shut down with all the bureaucracy and the Marxist progressive
There's some
bureaucratic
karma, right?
state.
Like Bernie Sanders never had a real job. What does he know what it is to do that, you know?
I just wanted to mention, how is Chuck Schumer worth $70 million on a $170,000 a year
I
salary?
didn't know that.
Yeah, well, when you go back and you start to dig a little bit on all these politicians, they all are worth millions and millions, and their salary doesn't align with what they're, you know.
Well, remember,
They're showing.
just until a couple of years ago, insider trading for Congress people was legal. There was nothing. Now, we have all this, talk about Nancy Pelosi and her husband, the investor, getting millions and millions and millions and selling right before the fall or buying right before the rise. It's obviously,
They have insider information.
this
yeah.
is my opinion. I don't have factual
Well-
basis on this. Inside trading going on there, But, it was actually legal
One
for
of the
Congress people.
best interviews I ever did. I was up in New Hampshire covering the the primaries and the Republican Democratic primaries this year, and I ran into Ro Khanna, who's the 17th district congressman from California, and he's a Democrat, son of legal immigrants from India, but he had great ideas, and I asked him for an interview. It was like the best interview I ever did because it was rational.
He goes on
How
Fox a lot.
We should have manufacturing back in the United States. Now, he's stumping for Biden, so
Oh, yeah.
something's wrong.
Oh, he's a major liberal.
But he wants to ban all stock market transactions for
Or
members of
make it in a
Congress.
blind trust. That's what
Yeah,
It
right.
should have to be in a
Blind
blind
trust,
trust. I have no idea what they're investing in. That makes sense because you shouldn't say, you ran for Congress, you won, and now you can't make an investment. But it should be through the blind trust that someone independent is managing
While
it. That
they're,
would be
while
the
they're
good
in office,
compromise.
only while they're
While they're in office, right. So you can still have someone investing for you, but you don't know it's for Exxon.
Right,
You don't
right.
know it's for Golo.
But then
or
it does.
whatever
But
it is,
doesn't it then just become like the Hunter Biden intermediary to buy his art? Like, we
yeah,
don't know
like-
who's
Yeah, well,
buying
if
it.
they're going to be corrupt.
Yeah.
then it is.
All right, Teresa, we have to wrap it up here at the America First Warehouse. You've got an incredible schedule here, the new car club.
We do.
Tell us about what's going on.
So again, we have this special event tonight that David touched upon, and we're very excited to have Dave Brad here. Tomorrow we are going to have a campaign kickoff for Shannon Stevens. It's their own event that they're hosting here. So if people want to come down and help get signatures for her.
Tomorrow night, you have Shannon coming?
Tomorrow at 9 a.m. they're doing like an early kickoff for their campaign. And then in addition to what David said earlier, we are so excited to have General Flynn here on May 12th. We're going to be showing his new movie twice that day. So you can go on to www.theamericafirstwarehouse.com and you can go under events and you can see our events there. Also the ones that we're mentioning here, everything's up on the website. Thursday nights we have Christ to Conquer the Nation. It's a church service here with Pastor Crystal. On Sundays we have the new Motor Club, which is an expansion of the America First Warehouse. You can come down for cars and coffee and talk to the guys about potentially storing your vehicles there. So that's been a really nice new thing that we've just started doing. And if you can, follow us on our social media, like, share, and we're all getting shadow banned and censored, so we need people to help us get
Now,
the word
where
out.
can people go on individual social media accounts and find the America First
Okay,
Warehouse?
so now if you go onto our website, www.theamericafirstwarehouse.com, you'll see a social medias tab at the top, and that will bring you to all of our social media. So we'd love to have you find us, share, like, and communicate with us.
And go to
that
the
way.
AmericaFirstWarehouse.com/events to see all this stuff
Yep, you can
online.
get directly that way too. So yeah, we're gonna have a good year. We're getting some nice events.
Closing thoughts?
Yeah, please check out our digital newspaper, lilifepolitics.com, right of center commentary. And we can be found at stevelevy.info and Center for Cost Effective Government, where we act as true taxpayer watchdogs.
Right, and follow me on social media at David Zier on Getter, on Facebook, on Truth Social, and at Dave Zier, just D-A-V-E Zier on X, and David W. Zier on Instagram. And check out Real America's Voice News. We're telling the truth. Nobody tells us what to say. Getting millions of viewers every day. Very exciting. And
We love the RAF crew. Thank you all for what you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you, what you guys do
Thank
at
you for what
Moms
you're
and
doing. You
Liberty.
came back to fight because you have grandkids now. I love that.
That's right.
So
It's all
thank
for
you
my
for what you're
grandkids,
doing.
that's right.
Can't sleep at night. I got 3 grandkids. How many grandkids you got?
5.
Wow.
Awesome.
Wow.
Best job in the world.
Yeah, and you can give them back when you're done.
That's
with
it,
them.
right?
You know, ice cream for breakfast today.
Yeah, you and Biden. All right.
We still have a generation of kids to save, so I'm in the fight no matter what.
I can't even sleep at night. Thank you so much for joining us. And we got Steve Schmidt in front of us. We want to thank Dan today for producing the show.
Dan the man.
And
Thank you, fellas.
we'll see you on the ground.
God bless.
Good show.
$7 million. That's what I read.